As a parent, I've always loved Hosea chapter 11, where the prophet voices God's longing for reconciliation with us. Hosea speaks for God, saying, "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more I called them, the more they went from me." This is true not only for toddlers, who take off in the opposite direction, but for children of all ages. "Yet it was I," says God, "who taught them to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. How can I give you up?" This is the great, tragic love story that runs throughout the entire Bible. It sums up the problem that still plagues the world today. God is always calling out to us. God is still speaking, as we like to say in the United Church of Christ. But we human beings, we are still running away. I want to close with an actual mountaintop experience that I had just yesterday. I was literally at the mountaintop, or almost there, nearing the end of my ride up the Boulder Summit lift at Mohawk Mountain, when I could see a scene unfolding below that reminded me of not too long ago when my children were beginning skiers when they were little. I could see right away what had happened. A father and daughter had been skiing together. They got to the top of the mountain, to the top of one of those black diamond advanced slopes, a slope they call the chute, kind of narrow and steep and icy, and they had started down it. And the first part of that run is the worst, with this nice steep drop-off. So he had zipped on down that first 50 yards or so, the father, assuming she was right behind him. But it looked like she had thought the better of it. She had just gone about 10 feet and stopped, too far down from the top to go back, but stuck. And the poor father couldn't very well climb back up that slope to her, so there he was. He was left to helplessly watch as she cried and refused to move. It was windy and they were down below, but I could see he was begging her to keep trying and to not give up, but she was having none of it. She was 5 years old, she knew best. But he was willing her to move with every fiber of his being. He was trying everything. You could just tell. He was trying every trick in the book. He was coaxing, he was pleading, he was cajoling, he was begging, he was bribing her, just to try to reach out to her in every way possible. See why this is a great metaphor for God? Every chapter of the Bible, a new way of trying to get through to us. But she was frozen with fear, this child. She was literally paralyzed. I mean, who could blame her? I mean, this was actually the slope where I had my bad fall 3 years ago, the one where I did the whole Easter service in a boot with a sprained ankle. So I wasn't actually planning to go that way myself. I was going to take the easier way down. But I couldn't pass this child by. So when I got there and saw that she was still stuck, I said a quick skier's prayer asking God for help, because I knew it would not inspire this child if I started tumbling head over heels. So I tried to reach God to find some sense of calm and courage for her. So I took a deep breath and I gave her a little pep talk. I said, I'm doing my pizza pie. We're doing our pizza pie, and we're going down slowly, and we're going down slowly. And I zigged down to her, and hoping that she would start following me. And miracle of miracles, she did that. What they do in all those little ski school, you see the little kids, doing like the little duckies, going zigzag down the slope. We did 6 or 7 of those, and I was yakking the whole way. You know me, I'm just like doing my best kindergarten teacher encouragement. Oh, you're doing great, you're so brave, and blah, 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 blah. And as I got closer to the Father, oh, that's where you could see the glory of that love on his face. He was practically crying himself, and he was a big guy, like 6'6". And the funniest thing of all was when she finally got close enough to put his knees in one of those death grip preschooler hugs, she started talking to him in German. And he started talking back. All of that wonderful preaching I had been doing to her, and she didn't understand a single word of it. But it brought back to me those words from the beginning of 1 Corinthians 13. You remember how it begins? If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but have not love, I am but a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. It didn't matter in the least what I said to that little girl. She knew that she was not alone and that nobody was going to leave her stuck there alone. Well, as much as I hated to break a cardinal rule of preaching and tell you a story where I emerge as the hero, triumphant, in the spirit of our Lenten theme, we are witnesses telling our stories. I thought perhaps I should start off by sharing a word of my own testimony. Because when we are witnesses to the glory of love, a love that transcends our human condition, when we witness the glory of that love incarnate, when it appears to us in the flesh, whether at the top of the mountain or at the bottom, as I saw in that bond between the father and daughter, that's the kind of story that we as Christians are compelled to tell. I wanted you to see not only how simple it is, these random acts of kindness that most of us do unconsciously every day when we put our faith into action, but how important it is to talk about it. It's so important that we are God's people and the sheep of his pasture, and that we go into the world at a different pace when so much of the world is zipping downhill fast on their own agenda, not stopping to see human beings on the way. But like Moses, like Peter, like Paul, it is also our job to try our best to put that steadfast love of the Lord into words whenever and wherever we see it, even if it can never quite be contained. Thanks be to God for this good news. Amen.